There are words never written, words that pass from soul to soul through silence, and today one of them will pierce you. Have you felt something calling you? Something ancient, older than your memories, older than your dreams themselves, as if a voice whispered your true name, the one only you know. Eckhart Tolle keeps a secret he's never revealed, in any book, any public lecture. A prayer, not an ordinary prayer, but an ancestral transmission, reaching him through a lineage lost to time. But here's the first mystery. This prayer, it doesn't choose just anyone. It chooses only those ready to die to who they thought they were. Are you feeling it now? That unease in your chest? As if something inside you recognizes every word you're hearing? This isn't coincidence. It's the first sign that you might be one of the chosen. But wait, before we continue, I need to tell you a story that happened on a winter's night in 1977, when Eckhart Tolle was still Ulrich Leonard Tolle, a lost young man, sitting on a bench in the heart of London, contemplating the end of everything. That night, something whispered in his ear, not an external voice, a voice from a place so deep, it seemed older than time itself, and that voice uttered three words that changed not only his life, but the destiny of millions of souls yet unborn. Do you want to know what those words were? As of course you do. But here's something you need to understand first. These words, they don't work as you expect. They aren't magic in the way your mind imagines. They are magic in a far more dangerous way, because when you truly hear them for the first time, something inside you breaks. Forever. And you can never again pretend you're just a body walking the earth. Never again believe your problems are real. Never again live in the comforting lie that you are simply, feeling your heart race. That strange sensation, as if you're about to remember something you forgot long ago. That's normal. It's what happens when a soul recognizes its own origin. But let's take it slow, because this story, and it's older than you imagine. Much older. 4,000 years ago, in what we now call Tibet, there existed a secret order. They weren't monks as we know them today. They were keepers of something that shouldn't be lost when humanity forgets who it truly is. They knew a time of spiritual darkness would come, a time when human beings would lose themselves so completely in the illusions of the mind that they'd forget their true nature entirely. And for that time, they prepared a key made of words, but not ordinary words. Words carrying a frequency, a vibration that awakens something slumbering deep within human consciousness. That key passed from master to disciple for millennia, always in secret, always to the few, because they knew, if this transmission were profaned, if uttered without proper preparation, it could cause a premature awakening, and a premature awakening that can shatter an unprepared mind. Are you wondering if you're ready? That question is the answer, because someone unprepared wouldn't even question it. But there's something I need to reveal before we continue, something that will completely change your perspective on this ancestral prayer. Eckhart Tolle wasn't the first Western man to receive it. There were others before him, but they all succumbed. They all received the transmission and couldn't bear the weight of the truth it revealed. One went mad, another disappeared into the mountains of Nepal and was never seen again. A third. Well, the third decided humanity wasn't ready and took the secret to his grave. But Eckhart was different. When the words pierced him that winter night, he didn't resist. He didn't try to understand. He simply surrendered. And in that surrender, something extraordinary happened. The prayer didn't just transform him. It chose him as a new keeper, a keeper for a new era, an era where the ancestral transmission could finally be shared. But only with those ready to receive it. You feel it, don't you? This sensation that every word you're hearing resonates with something very deep within you, as if you already knew this story before hearing it. That's because you did, not with your mind, with something far older than the mind, with that part of you that existed before you were born and will continue to exist after your body returns to dust. But here's what no one tells you about the chosen. Being chosen isn't an honor. It's a burden, because when you receive this transmission, when these ancestral words awaken within you, you become responsible. Responsible for carrying this frequency, responsible for transmitting it, responsible for being a beacon in a time of spiritual darkness, Do you want this responsibility? Are you sure? Because once you hear these words, once they anchor themselves in your soul, there's no turning back. You'll never again be just a spectator of spiritual life. You'll become an active participant in the evolution of human consciousness. Feeling fear? It's natural. Fear is the final gatekeeper before transcendence. It's the mind trying to protect you from your own liberation, but fear, it can also be a guide, because what we fear most is often what we need most. Now let me tell you about the first time Eckhart tried to transmit these words to another person. It was in 1982, to a close friend, a man who had spent years studying Eastern philosophy, meditation, mysticism, someone who, by all external parameters, was prepared. Eckhart uttered the three sacred words, and for a moment, a brief moment, something sparked in his friend's eyes, a deep recognition, an ancestral memory awakening. But then, fear arrived. The man shut down, retreated, and never again wanted to speak of what he'd experienced in that moment. Years later, he confessed to Eckhart that he'd felt as if he were about to dissolve completely, as if his entire identity would vanish. And he was right. That's exactly what was going to happen. Because these words, they don't add anything to you. They remove. They remove the veils of illusion, the masks of personality, until only what has always been there remains, pure, unchanging, eternal. Can you imagine what it's like to live without masks, without the comforting shield of personality, without the familiar feeling of being someone specific with a specific history and specific problems? For most people, this is terrifying, because the mind can't conceive of existence without identity. It can't imagine life without the constant drama of me. But for the chosen, for those already weary of carrying the weight of the false self, this is pure liberation. And you, are you tired? Tired of pretending you know who you are? Tired of carrying that constant feeling that something is missing, that there's something more, something you should be experiencing but can't quite reach? If the answer is yes, if there's a part of you that deeply resonates with these words, then maybe it's time to stop pretending this is just an interesting video about spirituality. Maybe it's time to acknowledge that you didn't get here by accident. That it's no coincidence you're hearing about this ancient prayer right now at this precise moment in your life, because there's a time for everything. A time to seek, a time to question, a time to doubt, and there's a time to receive. The question is, what is your time now? Eckhart Tolle discovered this the hard way. For years after that transformative night, he tried to share his experience with others. He spoke about presence, about the power of now, about identifying with thoughts. All these things were true, but they weren't. The core was that ancient wisdom. Those three words whispered in his ear on that cold winter's night. Everything else he taught were merely preparations, ways to prepare the ground so that one day, when the time was right, the true transmission could take place. And that moment is arriving now. You feel it, don't you? Like something is aligning, like invisible forces are conspiring to have you exactly here, exactly now, hearing exactly these words. It's not paranoia, it's not fantasy, it's recognition, the recognition of a soul finally finding its way back home. But before revealing those three ancient words, before completing this transmission that began 4,000 years ago in Tibet and reached you through Eckhart Tolle, there's something else you need to understand. Something about the nature of choice, because being chosen isn't passive. It's not something that happens to you. It's something you allow to happen. The ancient keepers knew this. They knew the transmission would only work if it found fertile ground, prepared ground, and that preparation doesn't come from the outside. It comes from an internal decision, the decision to abandon everything you think you know about yourself. Are you willing to make that choice? Are you willing to let go of everything, absolutely everything, for the unknown? Because that's what these three words will demand of you. They will require you to shed the false self, so that you can be reborn into who you truly are. Take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs, because what I'm about to reveal will change everything. Everything you've thought up until now was merely preparation. The three words that transformed Eckhart Tolle on that winter's night, the words that have been passed down from master to disciple for 4,000 years, the words that are only given to the chosen, they are simple, devastatingly simple. I am this. 3 words. Just that. I am this. Are you disappointed? Did you expect something more elaborate, more mystical, more impressive? Perhaps a Sanskrit prayer or a complex mantra with dozens of sacred syllables? That's exactly the reaction the mind has when it encounters pure truth. It feels betrayed by its simplicity because the mind loves complexity. It loves elaborate rituals, intricate ceremonies, practices that take years to master. All of this feeds the spiritual ego, the feeling of progressing, evolving, becoming more special. But the truth doesn't care what your mind wants. The truth is simple because it's fundamental. It's basic because it's the basis of everything. It's common because it's the most common thing in the universe, existence itself. But wait, let these words settle within you for a moment. I am this. Don't think about them. Just let them be within you. Are you feeling something? A slight vibration in your chest? A sense that something familiar is awakening? This is because your soul recognizes these words. It has always known that I am this. But what is this? What is this thing that you are? It's not your body. Your body is merely a temporary vehicle. It's not your mind. Your mind is just an instrument you use. It's not your emotions. Your emotions are merely fleeting internal weather. This is what witnesses everything, what is aware of everything, what remains unchanged while everything around it changes. This is pure consciousness, the presence that you truly are. And when you say, I am this, with complete surrender, with complete understanding, something magical happens. The illusion of separation dissolves. The feeling of being an isolated fragment of the universe disappears, and you remember, you always were this. But here's the secret the ancient keepers discovered. It's not enough to just understand these words intellectually. They need to be lived, breathed, felt in every cell of your body. And for that, there's a ritual. A ritual that Eckhart Tolle never revealed publicly. A ritual that transforms these three simple words into a transmission of ancient power. First, you need to find a moment of complete silence. Not just external silence, but internal silence. A moment where even the voice in your head stops chattering. This may take time. The mind resists silence like an addict resists abstinence. But when that silence finally arrives, you'll know. It's as if the whole world holds its breath with you, as if even time stops to listen to you. In this sacred moment, you close your eyes and place one hand on your heart. Don't just touch your chest. Really place the palm of your hand over your heart and press gently as if greeting an old friend you haven't seen in years. Feel the beat. Feel life pulsing through your chest. Each beat is a miracle. Each pulse is the entire universe saying yes to your existence. And then, you whisper the word, not with your mouth, with your entire being. I am this. But here's the secret that few know. You don't say these words to convince yourself of something. You speak them as an acknowledgement, as if seeing a reflection in a mirror and whispering, it's me. The first time you might feel nothing but words. It's normal. The mind is deeply conditioned, heavily shielded by years of false identification. To allow the truth to penetrate completely. You might even laugh at yourself, feel foolish doing this, but you continue, day after day, always in the same silence, always with the same reverence, always with the patience of someone who knows they are awakening something that has slept for a very long time. And then, one of these times, something happens. The words stop being words and become reality. You are no longer saying you are this. You are this. It's impossible to describe this experience to someone who has never gone through it. It's like trying to explain the color blue to someone born blind, or explaining the taste of honey to someone who has never tasted sweetness. But I will try. Imagine you spent your entire life believing you were a wave in the ocean, a specific wave, with a specific shape, specific height, specific wave problems. And then, in an instant, you realize you have always been the entire ocean. The wave was just a temporary appearance, a dance on the surface, but you have always been all the water. Eckhart Tolle told me it took him 3 months for the transmission to complete itself within him, 3 months repeating this ancient ritual every morning at dawn, and on the morning of the 90th day, he didn't wake up as Ulrich Leonard Tolle. He awoke as something completely new, something nameless, something that simply is. But don't think it was a gentle, poetic awakening. In the first few minutes he said, There was absolute terror, because when the false identity dissolves, it's as if you are dying. All points of reference disappear. Everything you used to define yourself simply vanishes. For a few terrifying moments, he didn't know if he still existed. He couldn't find the self anywhere. And then, in a wave of indescribable relief, he realized there had never been a self to be lost. There was only this. There had always been only this. Do you want to know what it's like to wake up without a fixed identity? What it's like to live without the constant need to define yourself, to defend yourself, to assert yourself? It's like being a leaf that finally stopped trying to be a specific tree and discovered it is the entire forest. It's like being a wave that finally stopped trying to be separate from the ocean and discovered it has always been all the water. But there is a price for this freedom, and the price is everything. Absolutely everything you think you possess. All your certainties, all your securities, all your familiar and comfortable fears. Because when you truly become this, you realize there was never anything to lose, never anything to gain, never anyone to protect, never anyone to improve. There has always been only this pure, simple, eternal. And this was never in danger. This never needed salvation. This was never lost. This was never broken. Are you beginning to understand why this ancient prayer can only be given to the chosen? Why it was kept secret for millennia? Because it doesn't offer improvement. It offers complete dissolution. Dissolution of all the problems you think you have. Dissolution of all the goals you think you need to achieve. Dissolution of the entire story you've built about who you think you are. And for most people, this is terrifying. Because without problems, without goals, without a story, who would they be? But for the chosen, for those who are already exhausted from being someone, this is what they have always sought without knowing what they were seeking. Now let me tell you something that will change your perspective on all of this. Something that Eckhart Tolle discovered only after 20 years of practicing this ancient transmission. The 3 words, I am this. They are not really about you becoming something different. They are about you stopping pretending you are something different from what you always have been. You already are this. You always have been this. You never stopped being this. The ancient prayer doesn't create a new reality. It simply removes the veils that hide the reality that has always been here. It's like cleaning a fogged mirror. The mirror doesn't become a mirror. It simply reveals what it always was, and what is reflected in it is not new. It has always been there, waiting to be seen. Are you seeing this now? That feeling of deep recognition, as if you were remembering something you forgot a long time ago but never truly lost? This is awakening, not as a dramatic event, but as a gentle relaxation into the truth that has always been present. But here is something I need to reveal to you before we end this transmission, something about the nature of the chosen ones that will surprise you. There is no chosen ones as a special group of people. There are only those who have chosen to stop resisting the truth they have always known. Being chosen is not about being special. It's about stopping trying to be special. It's about giving up the need to be different, better, more enlightened than others. Because when you truly understand I am this, you realize that this which you are is the same this that everyone else is, the same consciousness, the same presence, the same eternal being expressing itself through billions of different forms. The beggar on the street is this. The president of the country is this. Your mother is this. Your enemy is this. Even those who seem completely lost in unconsciousness are this pretending not to be this. And when you see this, and when you really see, how can you feel superior? How can you feel separate? How can you feel chosen in a way that excludes others? It's impossible. Spiritual arrogance becomes impossible when you realize there is no one to be arrogant to and no one to impress. That's the great twist of the ancient prayer. It makes you feel special for a few moments, only to show you that special and common are concepts that only exist in the mind. In reality, there is no common or special. There is only this being everything. Now, let me share with you the last secret of this transmission. The secret that not all the ancient keepers knew. The secret that was only discovered when the prayer reached Eckhart Tolle. The secret is, there is no ancient prayer. Stop. Breathe. Let this settle. Feel the confusion coming. Feel maybe even a little anger. What do you mean there isn't? And everything you just told me. This reaction is perfect. It's exactly what should be happening. There is no ancient prayer. There were no secret keepers in Tibet. There was no millennia-long transmission from master to disciple, no select few receiving exclusive knowledge, and yet, everything you experienced hearing this story was real. The emotion you felt was real. The recognition was real. The awakening that may be happening right now is real. How is this possible? How can a fabricated story generate genuine experiences? Because truth doesn't need facts to manifest itself. Truth uses any vehicle available, even fictional stories, to reveal itself. There's only this, that you are telling yourself a story about receiving something special from outside, creating an elaborate narrative full of mystery and exclusivity, because your mind needs drama to pay attention. But the truth is even more beautiful than the story. The truth is that this that you are is so infinitely creative, so infinitely loving, so infinitely intelligent, that it's capable of creating elaborate stories, imaginary transmissions, fictitious ancestral guardians, everything to help you remember what you always knew. It's as if you were an actor so lost in the role that you forgot you were acting. And then, to remember your own true identity, you create a play within a play, a spectacle within a spectacle, where you can finally awaken from the dream of being just a character. You are the ancestral guardian. You are the Tibetan master. You are Eckhart receiving the transmission on that cold winter's night. You are telling this entire story to yourself, creating this elaborate ritual, inventing these profound mysteries. Why? Because this that you are loves you so much that it's willing to create any illusion, any fantasy, any mystical narrative that helps you relax into the simple truth. I am this, and this is enough. It always has been enough. It always will be enough. You don't need ancestral prayer. You don't need a special transmission. You don't need to be chosen by anyone. You don't need Tibetan guardians or secret masters or exclusive knowledge. You just need to stop pretending you don't know who you are. You just need to stop searching outside for what was never lost within. You just need to whisper, with total honesty, total surrender, total love, I am this, and discover that this always knew your name, your true name, the name you had before you were born and will have after you die, the name that predates all the identities you've ever used. It has always been calling you, in the silent mornings when you woke up and for a few seconds didn't know who you were, in moments of extreme beauty when something inside you expanded beyond all limits, in hours of deep suffering, when everything you thought you knew about yourself crumbled and only pure presence remained, witnessing everything. It has always been waiting for you to come home, but not in a hurry, with the eternal patience of someone who knows that the prodigal son always returns, of someone who knows that all journeys are circular, of someone who knows that every search is just the movement of something that wants to find itself, the home you never left. Because how could you leave what you are? How could a wave separate itself from the ocean? How could a spark abandon the fire? The home you always were, not a place but a state, not a location but a recognition, not a destination but a deep acceptance of what never changed in you, regardless of how many stories you told about yourself. The home you always will be, because this that you are is eternal. It had no beginning, it will have no end. It always was, always is, always will be. Forms change, identities pass, bodies age, but this remains, unchangeable, untouchable, indestructible. I am this. That's all. That's all it ever was. That's all it ever will be. And this is more than enough.